Hey guys! So this time I'm covering Amélie, directed by Jean-Pierre Jeunet. Sorry if I butcher the pronunciation on any of these French names. Premise: a young girl tries to overcome her introversion to find love. It's an existentialist rom-com with a visual style much in the same vein as Jeunet's Delicatessen. The color palette is very yellow, like faded paper. There's actually a neat conceit to the delineations of the color palette, though. In the context of the film, most of the outside world has more white within the yellow, giving it a more muted, kind of ugly look, compared to the color palette of Amélie's apartment, which has richer, vibrant colors. It's a really nice way of creating a visual contrast between someone with a vivid internal fantasy world versus the outside world. That fantasy world is, to me, one of the most interesting things about the movie. It's characteristic of artists to develop a vivid sense of fantasy if they're growing up in mundane to desperate circumstances. Walt Disney, for instance. Amélie grew up in very socially deprived circumstances. Her father refused to hug her and then declared she couldn't go to school. Her mother didn't really show her any more affection, and then she gets killed off pretty early in the movie. So Amélie almost only had herself for company, thus growing up to be an introverted oddball of a sort. Audrey Tautou carries the role of Amélie with a strange charm not unlike Giulietta Massina. She has a certain restrained grace to her, a certain ethereal quirkiness. Amélie's character actually makes this a great movie for autistic viewers, I would say. A protagonist who's psychically isolated, bad at building relationships, lost in a world of fantasy, loves tickling herself with life's absurd questions, enjoys watching other people. Oh, and obviously the obsession with tiny details. I'd say Amélie's introversion presents a bit of a problem though, in spite of being the impetus for the conflict. Amélie spends most of the movie doing things to try and nudge people into the exciting world that exists just outside their own. But this also means that there isn't really a lot of conflict until almost the end. Amélie gets caught up in a long cat and mouse game of sorts with a man she's interested in, but doesn't know. Whether you like this movie depends on how much you can invest in a game that stretches the point that it's difficult to transcend the limits of personal perspective. For my money, it makes the movie a bit tedious, if sweet. The real measure of your enjoyment will be how much you invest in the lead and the poetic evocations of life's visceral delights on display, such as Amélie skipping stones along the river of humanity's suffering, or various objects in her room coming to life. But if you're in the market for a sweet French existentialist rom-com, or just a film student looking to brush up a bit on film history, I'd say give it a look. Alright guys, thanks for stopping by. Hit like and subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and have a nice day.